All right, we're going to continue now and talk a little bit about reptiles, and I will move through this pretty rapidly. The reptiles are the vertebrate group that have become more or less fully adapted to terrestrial life. They've done that in a number of ways that we won't go into here. The most significant adaptation, though, is certainly the development of the amniotic egg, the egg that allows reptiles to lay their eggs in terrestrial environment and not have to return to the water for reproduction. So, in a sense, the reptiles could be considered to be the first truly terrestrial vertebrate class. We have in the state of Alabama 3 orders of reptiles. The Testudinata. You'll see that spelled different ways, but this is probably the most common. In fact, I may spell it different ways here. The order Crocodilia, which is represented by 1 species in Alabama, and the order Squamata, which contains 2 very distinct suborders, the snakes and the lizards. We'll look first at the order Testudinata. These are the turtles, which, of course, have a body that's encased in a dermal a set of dermal plates which create a dorsal carapace, that's the shell on the top, and a ventral plastron, the shell underneath. They've lost the teeth, but they do have a horny sheath around the edge of the jaw that allows them to deliver a fairly significant bite to prey or to you. And unlike or in contrast to what might be portrayed in cartoons, you can't jerk a turtle out of its shell and leave it twirling with the turtle standing there naked. The vertebrae and the ribs of turtles are actually fused to the shell. I'll show you a slide of that in a second. The anus is a longitudinal slit. That's different from some of the other groups. Here's the shell, upper shell. We're looking at the underside of the carapace here, and you can see what I mean when I say that the vertebrae and the ribs are fused to the shell. One of the major features in turtle taxonomy, which of course we won't be getting into here, but the shape and the number of the scutes. The scutes are the different elements that make up the carapace and the plastron. The way that the number of scutes and the way in which they're arranged plays a major role in the taxonomy of the turtles. We'll quickly look at some of the families. I'll focus on the ones that we might actually encounter. Most of you are familiar with some members of the family Calidridae. These are the snapping turtles. They are very large. They have big, powerful heads with hooked jaws. The plastron is very distinctive in them. They have a very small cross-shaped plastron, and there are 12 marginal scutes on each side of the carapace. Currently we have 2 species, although there's been some recent changes in taxonomy that may change that. But the family Calidridae in Alabama is represented by Calidra serpentina, which is the common snapping turtle. Very large turtle, reaches almost a half-meter carapace length. The carapace has 3 keels, but the keels are not terribly conspicuous. One way to distinguish this from the other member of the group, which I'll show you in a second, is that if you look down on him from above, the eyes are visible. I think you'll probably be able to see that better in the next slide. You'll find snapping turtles in a lot of habitats ranging from small creeks to large lakes and rivers. They can be very aggressive. They are edible, and in fact a number of people will catch these and cook them up in a turtle stew or a turtle sauce piquant. Some other views of the common snapping turtle. Compare that to the alligator snapping turtle, Microclimus teminki, which is the world's largest freshwater turtle. Carapace length almost 3/4 of a meter. In other words, the carapace can be almost 3 feet long, and they can weigh in excess of 200 pounds. You usually find these in big water, rivers and oxbows. They are apparently found statewide. They are a vulnerable species, although they are more common than most people realize. And just recently, this species has apparently been split out into 3 separate species, and I actually have to do some reading up on that. They have a very interesting adaptation in which they will sit motionless on the bottom of a body of water, and they open their mouth, and they have a little fleshy appendage inside their mouth which moves, looks like some sort of invertebrate, and a fish is attracted, comes up and meets its demise in the jaws of the alligator snapping turtle. The largest family of turtles, not only in Alabama but in the world, are the Emydids, family Emydidae. These are the group that we typically refer to as the sliders. They're the ones that you'll see basking on logs in a body of water. I won't go into the taxonomy here. I'll just show you a few, and I'll move through these pretty quickly. This is the southern painted turtle, which we have in Alabama. The painted turtle has an unmarked plastron. Actually, the seams of the scutes are often dark. And the southern painted turtle, at least in our region, has a very distinctive yellow line down the center of the carapace. The eastern chicken turtle, characterized by a very elongate neck, this sort of reticulate pattern on the carapace. They also have an unmarked yellow plastron. Take a look at the length of the neck. That's maybe their most notable characteristic. The Alabama map turtle, which is a very large aquatic turtle, reaches around 30 centimeter carapace length. That's about a foot, and we're talking carapace only. That's a big turtle. The map turtles have a median keel down the carapace, where each one of the scutes kind of makes a spine into the adjoining scute. The plastron, very large and rigid, typically unmarked, although there is usually a dark line down the center of the carapace. This is a related species. I'm sorry, that's a young Alabama map turtle and an older one. This is a related species, the black-knobbed sawback, in which the spines on these vertebral scutes have gotten very distinctive and large and tipped in black. It's a little bit smaller turtle. They only get about 6 to 8 inches in length. We'll see these in our rivers quite often. That's a look at the plastron, both the carapace and the plastron of the black-knobbed sawback. These very distinctive circles in the carapace scutes are also distinctive. You can see that those turtles are in fact found in our river systems. It's the river cooter, very large, common aquatic turtle. Females here may reach as much as 40 centimeters. The males are a little bit smaller. Not a very distinctive looking turtle. The carapace is kind of an olive brown, and these concentric light markings, you might see them better in another, right here. These sort of, looks almost like a topographic map or something, but those are one of the ways in which you identify the river cooters. This is a turtle that also basks quite often, widely distributed across the southeast. There are other species of cooters, particularly down in the peninsula of Florida. Notice that the plastron is unmarked except for some smudging and the dark seams of the scutes. And then perhaps our most common Emydid turtle is the pond slider, fairly large, about 28 to 30 centimeters carapace length, and very common basking turtle, and characterized by a spot, a dark spot on each of the plastral scutes. This is the turtle that when you see a group of turtles sitting on a log out at Lake LU, most of them, or many times it would be the pond slider. Also in this family, although it's not an aquatic turtle, is Terrapene Carolina, the box turtle. This is, even though it's Emydid, it's a terrestrial burrowing turtle. They show a dramatic range of coloration, but it's usually some mix of this sort of dark olive and yellow. And they have a hinged plastron so that they can actually retract the head and the neck and the legs, and they can close the plastron up completely. These dig burrows, and in our region it's the most common burrowing turtle that we have. There is another family of turtles called the mud turtles, or musk turtles. That's the family Cynosternidae. Have a fairly large plastron, and there are the way in which you identify these. The easiest way in which to identify them is by looking at the pectoral scutes of the plastron, and the pectoral scutes do not contact the marginal scutes right here. So this is the eastern mud turtle. It's a fairly small turtle, about 10 to 12 centimeters. Unmarked. You'll find these in ponds or lakes or roadside ditches. You won't find them very often in free-flowing creeks. A lot of these turtles emit a musky odor, hence the name for the group, the musk turtles. I think I went the wrong direction. This is another member of the group, the loggerhead musk turtle. You get an idea there about the size. It's another small turtle. This one has a set of barbels under the chin. You can kind of see right here barbels. It's called the loggerhead because it has such an unusually large head relative to body size. And this is the stinkpot, the common musk turtle, which another small turtle, 13, 14 centimeters. It also has barbels, but you can't really make them out here. These actually will feed on carrion, and you will sometimes see these in some of our lakes and sloughs. They will crawl around early in the morning. You might see them crawling around on the bottom of the stream. There you see the barbels quite clearly. And then the family Testudinae, the tortoises, and if we're lucky, we'll see a gopher tortoise in our trip to the southern part of the state. The gopher tortoise is a very large turtle, reaches 35, 36 centimeters in length. It is terrestrial. The feet are adapted into shovel-like scoops that help them dig. They are more or less restricted to the coastal plain, and they like dry, sandy places where they dig a sloping burrow that may be as much as 30 feet in length. And those burrows are important not only for the tortoises, but for a variety of other animals that utilize those utilize those burrows. These are fire-controlled habitats, and fire is a regular phenomenon there. Many of the animals that live there have co-evolved to use the burrows developed by the gopher tortoise. That includes things like the indigo snake and the rattlesnake. And that's one reason gopher tortoises are vulnerable, is because of things like rattlesnake roundups, where people deliberately disturb gopher tortoise burrows in hopes of finding a rattlesnake, and in the process they render the burrow uninhabitable to the gopher tortoise himself. Typical gopher tortoise burrow. We consider them to be a keystone species in the sense that so many other species are dependent on the gopher tortoise. The last family of turtles I'll show you, and you might encounter some of these out at Lake LU. I actually saw one yesterday out there. The family Trionychidae are the soft-shelled turtles. They have shell covered with leathery skin and a very unique tubular proboscis that allows them to feed on a variety of foods, but primarily on inverts that they capture in the streams and lakes that they live in. The soft shell, we have the Gulf Coast spiny soft shell, but they get quite large. The females can be 40 to 45 centimeters in carapace length. That's a big turtle. and they're very distinctive. You won't mistake them for anything else. The spiny soft shell, the name spiny is a reference to these tubercles that are on the leading edge of the shell. They are rather ill-tempered, and they will bite if you handle them carelessly. I'll just mention the sea turtles that utilize our beaches. There are perhaps 3 species that might be found on Alabama beaches. The most common one would be the loggerhead sea turtle, Caretta caretta. Quite common in the Gulf, and if you were to see a sea turtle, it would likely be Caretta caretta. The order Crocodilia, we have one member of this. I won't even try to describe what the crocodilians look like. I expect everybody knows what they look like. It is worth noting that the front feet have 5 toes. The hind feet are webbed with 4 toes. The ear has a movable flap over it, and male crocodilians tend to be larger than females. That's not the case in turtles, for example. Our crocodilian is the American alligator, Alligator mississippiensis. Ask Dr. Keener what you call it when the genus name is also the no, that's different. Anyway, the genus name is also the common name here. The alligators making a bit of a comeback. We are beginning to see them more and more across the area where we work. Adult males often reach as much as 13 feet. There are unconfirmed reports of some that are 16 to 17 feet, and even one report of one approaching 20 feet. That's very doubtful, but we know they get in the neighborhood of 13 and 14 feet. Females typically reach maybe about 10 feet. They also can act as keystone species in that they alter their habitat in places where alligators are common. They will dig out, wallow out depressions which will hold water even in drought, and as a result aquatic species can take refuge there when the rest of the aquatic habitat is greatly diminished. The alligator is gradually re-expanding into its former range. They were in great trouble 40 or 50 years ago, but have been well managed, making a real comeback, and we'll likely see alligators on some of our outings. They feed on a wide range of prey, fish and beavers and snakes and frogs and pretty much anything they can get in their mouth, including dogs and other small pets. I will try to play. This is the breeding bellow of a male alligator. Alligators build nests, which are mounds of vegetation and mud. Where they locate the nest depends on a lot of things. The amount of water. They actually are. They have temperature-dependent sex determination, and so there is some degree of control of the sex ratio of the offspring in terms of the location within the nest where the eggs are laid. They are making comeback. These are all photos that we've taken. Of course, a lot of these were in Florida, but we're beginning to see more and more in Alabama. And I simply give you this. These 2 photographs were taken at Alamuchee Creek about 3 years ago. I'm going to stop there and upload this.